Every side of the GMO argument seems to have data to support their claims. As Wanjiko, how do we navigate this? Because when all is said and done, the effects hit hardest on the ground. Please give us a few sentences in response and then close for us
Yeah,
before we hand
it's a
over
very
to
interesting question. But I think I go back to what we talked about on our whole understanding of science and all these things. And I remember talking to somebody because we've got challenges also with things like cancers and exposures that we were like Catherine mentioned, and definitely there's a lot of bad practice that causes all these issues. But one of the challenges, and we haven't really talked a lot about it, is also urbanization. Because as we urbanize, we are no longer able to grow our own food. So one of the things that is going to happen, and I think sometimes we don't take this seriously as we are talking about the food security in the future. It is a big challenge that we have to address in Africa. Like now with our maize in Kenya, we are seeing this challenge. It's a real big issue. And the only way we're going to do it, if less of us are growing our own food, is commercial farming. Somebody is going to have to grow food to sell it to other people to eat, because the rest of us in the cities are going to be doing other jobs or other things. Somebody else has to grow the food for us. So what then happens, it becomes a regulatory issue of, do we have confidence in our regulators? Do we have confidence in our food systems? And the whole question, like we said, and that's why we're saying, the seed itself, the GMO seed is not the magic bullet, because you also have, like was mentioned very well by Catherine and Fadel, the supply chain issues, the post-harvest losses. It's not even post-harvest losses. What about the post-harvest damage? One of the big challenges we know we have right now is like in the aflatoxins in our cereals. And this is all a post-harvest issues, and very carcinogenic, by the way. So it is challenges that we have to deal with. But again, like Fadel would say, we look at everything and we try and use as many resources as possible, because if we go commercial farming, their key thing is going to be about their ability to produce more and more so that we can raise the food. Then I think the other one is, again, if we take about, from a philosophical big picture thing, is when we have trust in our scientists and our researchers and our regulators as well. I was on a webinar like this, and somebody was actually saying, I don't believe those scientists who are saying that it's good. You can't believe them. So then I asked him, so which scientists should we believe? If we don't believe, which do you have another panel of scientists somewhere that we should actually believe? So we need to think about, there is a lot of things that we do every day. Like I said, in the morning, we'll brush our teeth, we'll oil ourselves, we use deo, we enter a car and start holding the steering wheel, we are absorbing fumes from the air. We don't go testing these things every day. We know they have some issues, and there are scientists and regulators looking after them, and we need in society to arrange for those things to be available. But we are not going to be able to do it on our own every single day. Having said that, we also have choices. Like we said, you can, but remember that choice is a privilege of wealth and position, where you have a choice, where you can say, I can eat organic, and I can go to an organic store and just buy organic. So you do have that choice. But remember, it's generally very expensive because the production is lower. So it's not something, when we are thinking about these issues, we also need to think about the whole of society. How are we going to grow this? But finally, I think it is going to be more about these conversations that is going to be useful. I like what Fadel said about trust. And one of the things I say, Fadel, is, for me, in fact, I like the commercials, the Monsantos and so on, because it's very clear what they want to do. They want to make money. So, we can understand them very clearly. What is more difficult is when you're not really saying, what do you want? Okay, so we need to understand, but of course we understand that they have come in with a commercial interest. That's true, and we give it to them and say, like you said very well, if they've done the research, they've done this thing, they deserve some reward. Is it reasonable? And what can we do? And I love the point you raised about also the research in here, because one of the other challenges we're not talking about, even though the technology is there, and we mentioned GMO is not one crop. Every crop has a different thing. So you can't like ban all of them. You need to look at them specifically. But who is doing the research on bananas, like our matoke, all right? Or we talked about our domas or our millet and sorghum. And we need to do ours because these guys, they'll do research on their feeds or their food because it works for them. And it's also where there's a market for sale and so on. But we do need to improve our scientific capability here so that we're actually researching food that matters to us, that is going to help us in the long run.